Now, we get to chapter 21. And God remembered Sarah, or fulfilled his promise to Sarah as he had promised. And Sarah became pregnant, and she gave birth to a son to Abraham, and then they add in his old age, according to the time which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called his son, who was born to him, which Sarah had given birth to, he called him Isaac, Yitzchak. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac at the age of 8 days, as God had commanded him. Now Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac was born. And Sarah said, God has made laughter of me, or a joke of me. Whoever hears will laugh at me. And they will say, and she said, whoever said to Abraham that Sarah is nursing a son? For I have given birth to a child, to a son in his old age. And the boy grew up, and he was weaned. And Abraham made a great big feast on the day that Isaac was weaned. Now we come to the other crisis. Now Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, who had been born to Abraham, or whom the Egyptian maidservant had given birth to for Abraham. She saw him laughing or playing. And she said to Abraham, I want you to drive this maidservant away together with her son. I do not want this maidservant's son to inherit together with my son Isaac. This was very bad in Abraham's eyes. He didn't like this concerning his son Ishmael. So God said to Abraham, don't feel bad about your son and your maidservant. Whatever Sarah tells you to do, listen to her. Because in Isaac will seed be called to you. In other words, Abraham, you will be the father of the descendants of Isaac and his descendants. I will also make the son of the maidservant a great nation, because he is your descendant. Okay, now, Sarah says to Abraham, get rid of this woman and her servant, her son. First of all, let's be fair about this. Abraham could not fire Hagar or get rid of her. Hagar was Sarah's property. But Hagar was also Abraham's wife. Once she gave birth to Ishmael, she was his wife. So Sarah is saying to Abraham, I want you to divorce her, and I will give her, she is implying this because this is what she must do. I will give her a document saying she's free. She's no longer my servant. I will give her a manumission. So I will free her, and you will divorce her. And she will go with her son. I don't want them here. Now, Abraham couldn't do that, because according to the law, following their Babylonian law, once a man appoints a son or any person to be his son and heir, he cannot dispossess him entirely. He cannot disinherit him entirely. So what Abraham did, when God says Isaac, Sarah is the wife. She's the primary wife. Her son will be the primary heir. But the other son still owns a share of the property. So for Abraham to do what Sarah wants him to do, there's several things have to be done. Number one, Sarah has to free Hagar. Number two, Abraham has to divorce Hagar. Number three, he has to give Ishmael his share of the property. And then he can go. So Abraham got up in the morning, and he took bread and a pitcher of water, and he gave it to Hagar. He put it on her shoulder and the boy, and he sent her away. And she went, and she wandered in the desert around Beersheba. And the water of the jug, she finished the water of the jug, and she put the boy down under one of the bushes or shrubs. and she sat down at a distance, and she said, I don't want to see the boy die. And she sat there, and she raised her voice and cried. And God listened to her, and he heard the voice of the child. And God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, Hagar, fear not. God has heard the voice of the child wherever he is. Rise up, take the boy, hold him by the hand, for I will make him into a great nation. And God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and she filled the pitcher with water, and she gave the boy to drink. And God was with the boy, and he grew up. And he lived in the desert, and he became an archer, and he lived in the desert of Paran. Next sentence. And his mother went and bought a wife for him from the land of Egypt. First of all, she wanted him to marry an Egyptian like her. Reasonable. She went to get a wife. Where'd she get the money from? She had money. In other words, she was not sent away empty-handed, even though the story doesn't imply, but we know, since Abraham and Sarah are always following the law, that he followed the law here in this case too. Again, it's a story that has a lot of factual elements in it, and there are things that we just have to imagine.